Alright, what is up guys, I'm Sauce Williams, aka TheSwolefessor, here to educate you on health and social well-being. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I know it's really loud in here. It is my secondary squat and bench day with push accessories. While working out today guys, I'm going to be doing part one of a two-part Q&A. Those of you who've been following me for a while know that every time I reach a 1,000 sub threshold, gain 1,000 subs, I like to do a Q&A for you guys. I didn't do it for 14K because once we hit 14K, literally 2 weeks later we hit 15K, and then when we hit 15K, a week and a half later we hit 16K. So I want to do it now and do a two-part to kind of make up for it. This first part is going to be questions that I've received on DMs through Instagram. Earlier today I said on my Instagram, which if you aren't following me on Instagram, you should be, because I utilize the story feature a lot to get out information and talk about different topics, and it's also what I use for Q&A sometime. I'm going to be answering the questions that I got in response to that for part one, and then part two is going to be questions that I answer in response to you guys in the YouTube comments on this video. So if you want your question to be answered in part two of this Q&A, leave your question down in the comments down below. Put Q&A next to it so I know that you're asking, so I can be answering the Q&A, not necessarily answered right now in the comments. But yeah, right now I'm building up to a top set of 3 at RPE 6 pause squats. Last week I did 380 for a set of 4 at RP6, so I feel like I'm not gonna have much more than that today, maybe 385 or whatever the kilo conversion is, just because it is pause and it's a secondary day, so I know due to fatigue I won't make as big of jumps. But yeah, gotta knock that out and then get started with this Q&A. Step outside real quick because I want to make sure that it's not too loud to where I had to end up voiceovering this whole thing. So I want to keep this a raw Q&A. Anyway, that top set felt good, man. I really tried to heavily emphasize coming to a complete stop at the bottom and holding it, and that was probably the best my pauses have felt on the secondary day so far. Last week felt good, but I kind of rushed the pauses, which actually made me lose tension, because it's kind of the equivalent of doing a truly tension pause on the chest versus an uncontrolled touch and go. You just feel more stable. You have more driving force coming off the chest. Same thing with when I pause really well in that hole and I really tension it, I drive out with so much more power. So it felt really good. Anyway, there is quite a few of these questions, which I appreciate. I appreciate those of you who took the time to shoot me a question. So what we're gonna do is just start opening them up and just see what's what. I'm not gonna get through all of them obviously, but let's see what we got. So question number 1, what does my typical diet look like through the week? So usually I'm eating on Monday through Thursday, I'm eating anywhere between 3,200 to 3,600 calories Monday through Thursday. Fridays, I'll eat anywhere between 4,000 to 5,000 calories, and the reason I eat so much extra on Friday is because my long training SBD session is on Saturday, and after that session on Saturday, I really just don't have much of an appetite. I maybe eat one big meal and a smaller meal or a small snack later, so I eat more on that day to make up for the fact that I'm not going to be eating as much on Saturdays. And then Sundays, I usually eat anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000 calories, just because my appetite's just not as high that day in general. Now, right now, I'm keeping it closer to that 3,200 calories throughout the week instead of the range of 3,200 to 3,600, just because I need to make sure that I'm staying right next to my weight class where I need to be. With the way I was eating, with the 3,200 to 3,600, I was getting anywhere chilling from 168 to 170. Now, right now, I'm chilling around 165. So I'm scaling things back towards that 3,200 so I can make sure I'm good to weigh in at 163 at my my next meet here in the next few weeks. So that's what my typical diet looks like as far as caloric intake. I always take anywhere from 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight for my protein. My fats are always between 25 to 30% of my total calories, and then the remainder is just carbs. So that's what my typical diet looks like. Anyway, next I've got 3 sets of back downs, pause squats, or 2 sets. You'll see on screen. Done with squats. Next question before we start our warm-ups for bench. When you feel the muscle working, is that because of the mind to muscle connection, or just using good form? So the two go hand in hand. That's one thing I don't like. I'm not somebody who discredits the mind to muscle connection, but people definitely kind of like misuse that term to me, or they misunderstand that term. I think a lot of people feel like, oh, if I just focus on my muscle more, it's gonna magically make it grow more. What you guys have to understand is that, to me, the mind and muscle connection is simply a tool to help somebody utilize better form. Because what you guys have to understand is that if you focus on the function of the muscle group, then by default, you're going to utilize better form in that movement, and that better form is going to lead to better muscle engagement, and if you have better muscle engagement, you're going to feel the muscle working more. A perfect example, with almost like all of my clients who come to me, they have a very poor connection with their back. Never once have I told any of my clients, oh, just focus on your lats more, like put your mind in your lats, just focus on squeezing really hard. No, what I tell them is, hey, instead of just pulling with your arms, focus on making sure that your scapula is fully elevated at the top, and that you initiate the movement with depression and then follow through. And every single time I've done that, my clients tell me, man, I feel my lats so much more. Why? Because they are using the lats in the proper function of that movement. It's like, it's really simple. If you're doing curls like this, swinging around back and forth, versus actually getting your back tight and focusing just on proper form moving the weight, you're gonna feel your bicep way more, because your bicep has to do more work when you're using proper form versus when you're swinging around. It's the same thing with the lat pull down, or really any type of movement. It's like you're going to see benefits when you're focused on the proper function of that movement and focus on proper form. So it's not necessarily one or the other, two go hand in hand. But if people think that, like, oh, I'm just gonna focus on the muscle more and that's what's magically fixing things, no, it's the fact that when you focus on the muscle more, that tends to get you in a better groove of proper form. So yeah, to me, it's not one or the other. The mind-muscle connection and proper form kind of go hand in hand. Alright guys, smooth setup forward, RP7, 270 pounds, really happy with that. Like, bench has been flying lately. With my new setup, all I gotta do is make sure I roll those shoulders over perfectly, scapula stays in good position, and we're really cruising. Like, the fact is, my top end strength has always been much better than my rep work, so now my rep work's getting better, I know that like my top end strength is gonna like blow it out the water. So I'm really excited. We get like 4 weeks out to really start pushing like heavier like doubles and singles. But anyway, next question. When it comes to powerlifting, how many years of general strength training should somebody have before they decide to get involved? So there's technically like not a certain amount of time. You can technically get involved in powerlifting at any point that you want, but my recommendation is always to spend at least like, you know, at least 2 to 3 years of just building a good base of strength and muscle mass. So don't go in just focusing on getting strong on the big three. Get strong on like, you know, the big three, bench squat and deadlift, but get strong on like overhead press, weighted pull-ups, weighted dips if you can do them. Like just other compound movements that are good for overall strength and hypertrophy. That way when you get started with powerlifting, you already have a good base to build upon. Like, 'cause there's so many people who they just jump right into powerlifting and they get so focused on just the big three and nothing else, and then they wonder why they deal with a bunch of stuff like injuries, muscular imbalances, and then a lot of people get upset because they don't feel like they're as competitive as they should be. But it's like, well, yeah, you've only been lifting for like a year and it's been nothing but powerlifting, so like you're only going to be so competitive when that's the case. So my advice to you guys is spend like, you know, a good, honestly, if you want to spend longer than that, that's fine. Like I think I was lifting for like a few years before I got involved in powerlifting, but at least a good 2 to 3 years of building a base before you decide that, okay, I'm just going to specify into competitive powerlifting. TheSwolefessor. So I follow the advice you give on making sure my focus is on major compound movements, and I use accessory work to help build up my weak points. With that being said, I find that my arms still lag behind my torso quite a bit. Am I doing something wrong? So what you guys have to understand is that even if you were assuming this guy is telling the truth, right, which I'm not saying he's not, but assuming he really is doing everything correctly as far as proper progressive overload on his big compound movements, adequate accessory work and total volume on his weak points, you have to understand that if you're doing all that right, it doesn't ensure that your muscle mass is going to grow any faster in the sense of faster than what your stronger muscle groups are. Everybody has genetic strong points and weak points. If you're more torso dominant, then your torso is always going to grow faster than what your arms are going to be. Whereas vice versa, if you're more arm dominant, then your arms may grow faster than what your chest or back does. It's okay so long as you're seeing progress though, and you're seeing that steady growth. That's what matters. And then it's also understanding that your genetic potential for how much any muscle group can grow is set from the day you're born. Some of you, and I've talked about this in my strength standards for arms, which I'll have linked in the description down below, but it's like, some of you have to accept that you may not have 18-inch arms. We never get 19, 20-inch arms. Some of you won't even get 16-inch arms. That's just the reality of it. It sucks, but just understand that compared to the average Joe, so long as you are consistently training and getting stronger, you're still gonna look better than like 90% of everybody else that you're around. That's just part of it. Like those of you who saw 2 videos ago, at the end of my video 2 videos ago, where I talked about what I'm doing to go about my calf training, understand that a year from now, I might see some growth, but I'm not expecting like a huge drastic change. I'm hoping for some change, but if I get a little bit of change, the fact that I have to do that much work just to get that is because calves are just not a genetic strong point for me. And if I get no change at all, I have to accept the fact that my calves have reached their potential for growth, and that's just the reality of the situation. Next question. How do you go about ensuring progression on your accessory movements without overreaching on them to the point where you're causing too much fatigue for your primary movement focus? Alright, so this is really easy. I'll have 2 videos linked in the description down below. One is over the importance of using RPE for your accessory movements versus something like, percentage-based stuff. And like, it's one thing using percentage-based stuff for like, a 1 rep max for like a weighted pull-up, a weighted dip. So if we're talking about things like dumbbell press downs, curls, you want to use something like RPEs to kind of rank how you feel on that in terms of fatigue. And then the second link that I'll have over this is how I go about ensuring progression on my movements. So definitely check those 2 videos out for more in-depth answer to this question. But the long story short, guys, is that so long as you're finding that you're still able to recover from the workload you're doing and still progress on your main movements, like you're not hitting your main movements, and you're getting that gradual progression on your accessories, then you're good. You don't have to see like the weight increase on your accessories every single week because they're there as accessory movements. You want to pick your accessory movements based upon like muscular weak points or even like functional weak points. When I say that, I mean like, let's say you're somewhere where you have problems like retracting and protracting. So maybe you do like a cable row. And muscular weak points, that's easy. Like, oh, my biceps are lagging, so I do some additional curls. Or my triceps are lagging and I'm already benching like 3 or 4 times a week, so I throw in some tricep press down, something like that. But so long as you're able to adequately recover and you're still progressing your main movements and you're seeing some gradual progression on those, maybe like you're adding the weight every 2 to 3 weeks or so, or maybe you're able to get a few more reps, however it is set up that you have designed, then you're good to go. Don't try to overcomplicated. It's not something you have to be like exact. And a lot of this stuff you're going to learn through trial and error. You're going to know very quickly like, hey, I'm pushing too hard on like my incline dumbbell presses. I'm actually feeling too much chest fatigue on my bench press. Maybe pull back on what you're doing with the incline dumbbell press as far as your total workload. It's all, a lot of this stuff is trial and error, but if you watch those 2 videos, it's going to give you a way more in-depth breakdown. yeah, so gonna answer like 3 more questions since I think I did 3 more movements without following up with the question. Just had to get through the rest of the workout before the gym closed. Plus, I also have a couple client calls I got to get to. So let's do 3 more questions, and then, like I said, there will be a part 2. So just leave your questions down in the comment section down below for the Q&A. Let's see what we want to pick. What we gonna go with, man? God, that ain't a lot, man. I appreciate y'all though. I really do appreciate y'all for all these questions. You say, within the context of hard sets, total workload is what matters. What do you mean by that? Is it not just total volume period that matters most for hypertrophy? All right, so when I say, guys, that total workload is what matters, but only within the context of hard sets, it's the fact that usually when I say, or when most people say, oh, workload or total volume is what matters for hypertrophy, everyone just assumes that means sets times reps, or even they do think sets times reps times weight. They think that so long as some factor of that is going up, then they're just going to be maximizing their muscle growth. But as I've explained to you guys before briefly, and I'll go into a little bit more detail with this question, there is such thing as junk volume. So if you're doing, like, let's say 3 sets of 10 with 100 pounds on a movement, and your mindset is, well, I'm just going to keep adding sets and sets and sets, like get to like 10 sets and then 20 sets, or I'm just going to keep adding reps and reps and reps, and you're not worried about increasing intensity, aka the load on the bar at all, then you're not going to efficiently maximize your muscle growth, because total workload is what matters within the context of hard sets, because the set has to be hard enough to produce a stimulus. That's how progressive overload works, right? We put our body through a stimulus that the body is not used to. The body then adapts to that stimulus and has to grow or get stronger in order to, push for more, and then you keep adding to that, building onto that more and more and more. But you'll get to a point where if you're just adding reps endlessly or sets endlessly, but keeping the weight extremely light, unless you're on a bunch of drugs, in which case you can really sit on your butt and gain muscle mass, you're not going to be able to actually properly build muscle mass or strength that way. Remember, the two go hand in hand for naturals. If you're trying to get stronger, you got to get bigger. If you're trying to get bigger, you got to get stronger. So if the weight on the bar isn't going up over time, if intensity is not going up over time to where the reps you're doing are going to be hard enough to stimulate any type of growth and reach those upper threshold muscle fibers, you're not going to get any benefit from it. Or even if you do, it'll be like from those last few reps you do of those extremely high rep sets, in which case you're doing so much fatiguing workload and getting very little benefit from it. So like, what's the point when you could instead, like, keep the sets and reps something manageable and just gradually add load over time and ensure that progression. So that's what I mean by that when I say hard sets are what matters. And Greg Knuckles is somebody who talks a lot about that, I believe. And I think I'll find like a quick read and try to remember to link that down below. Over him talking about like the importance of hard sets and why that's what we have to look at. It has to go beyond just like volume in of itself. So you guys have better context for that. But yeah, that's my answer to that question. Next question. What do you think the biggest problem in the fitness industry is currently? I know that your channel is all about fighting misinformation, but what do you think the industry can do as a whole to change a lot of the misinformation that's being spread? So this is ironic. Actually, I'm pretty sure this guy knows this, because I ranted about this on my channel. I mean, not my channel, on my Instagram story earlier today, so it's probably why he's asking this. The reality is, guys, it does not matter what field or industry you go into. There's always going to be corrupt people. There's always going to be people out there who care more about making money than genuinely helping you. And there's always going to be people who are willing to take advantage of your ignorance. I think the best thing for the fitness industry is for consumers to get smarter, to think more critically, to take more time to evaluate the people that they watch and the people that they buy things from or get information from. Because at this day and age, guys, like, it's 2019, you have the internet, you have no excuse. I'm not saying you have to go to school for this stuff. I'm not saying you have to become an expert, because as I said on my story earlier today, a lot of you, the reason you watch YouTube, the reason you go to these different forums, because you're trying to get more information because you're not an expert. But you can take the time to learn the basics. You can take the time to go buy like a basic physiology textbook, right? Or rent one from the library, or one over biomechanics, or even just getting a basic book over strength training, so you can learn basic things like progressive overload, calories in versus calories out. So that way, when people are out here trying to tell you things that go against simple basic concepts that anybody who actually takes their training seriously should understand. That's the thing. Even though you're not to be an expert, if you're actually serious about your training, there are certain base principles that you should understand. And if you guys would take more time to learn that and to think critically about the information you're getting, like, does this contradict one of these base principles that we know to be true, or does it build upon that? If you would take more time to realize that, then a lot of these people who grow and blow up, like, wouldn't keep growing, like, because people would stop watching them. You'd stop giving their time and attention. Like, at the end of the day, you can't sit here and complain that, like, oh, there's so much BS and misinformation out here when you're part of the problem by not educating yourself and continuing to watch these people. Like, so many of you are out here following somebody just because they have a nice physique, or because they're stronger than you, or because they have more followers than you. Like, you have no objective reason for actually, like, believing anything that they say apart from that. Like, even some people out here who have a degree, like a PhD in something, that doesn't mean that it's impossible for them to be wrong. I don't care if they have millions of subs, if they went to school for how many years. Like, if somebody says something that's just objectively false, then it's false. That's it. So to me, I think, like, it's one of those things where I can sit here and be like, oh, well, content creators need to hold themselves to a higher standards, they need to have more morals and ethics, and I do believe that. I'm never going to make an excuse for content creators putting out BS. But at the end of the day, that's in any field, and that's not going to go anywhere. There's always going to be corrupt people. So it's on you guys as consumers to decide who you're going to spend your time and money on, pretty much. So yeah. Hey, Swolefessor, if you could change your genetics, would you? Not talking about your calves, LOL, but in general, your leverages for powerlifting and overall strength. So, from the standpoint of being more competitive, absolutely. Of course I would. Because I tell you guys all the time that I'm really not built very well as a whole for powerlifting, like compared to what the typical powerlifter is built. Like, it's weird. It's like I'm 5'7", like I'm a shorter dude, but I have like a tall guy's leverages, like very lanky, long arms and long legs compared to my frame. But I still make it work, right? But it's like, if I wanted to be more competitive, then yeah, I definitely would change my leverages, like shorter arms and shorter legs, so I have a shorter range of motion to go, right? And can maybe, like, you know, be easier to pack on more muscle to my frame, things like that. So from that standpoint, sure, why wouldn't I? But from the standpoint of, I guess, coaching and then my channel, no, I wouldn't, because I've been forced to learn so much more in order to work around my quote-unquote disadvantages when it comes to powerlifting or strength training. And because I've been forced to learn more, it's made me a much better coach and a much better informative YouTuber. Like, the reason I know so much is because so many things were difficult for me at one point, so I had to learn how to work around them and learn, so what's the general way that people go about this? What are some exceptions to how people go about this? And it just forced me to, like, dive into things more. And it's made, like, training my clients so much easier, because I don't have any client who's as built as poorly for powerlifting as what I am. So working with them is a breeze by comparison. And it just makes it more satisfying whenever I am able to accomplish something like PRing on squats or deadlifts, because it's like, I know I'm not built great for those lifts. So the fact, it just makes me appreciate it more when I'm actually able to see progression on those. And then, and like I said, as far as the YouTube thing, it's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like the question of like, hey, would you ever want to change anything about how you go about your channel when you know you could do A, B, and C to grow more? And it's like, sure, I think about it. And the temptation is always there, but at the end of the day, I'm grateful for the growth that I've had these past 2, going on 3 years on YouTube, and I'm glad about the way I'm going about it. And I'm not talking about little things. Like, there's always little things that I can change here and there, and it just depends on who I'm trying to please. Like, some people want me to talk faster, some people want me to talk slower, some people want more training footage, some people want more just like straight informative videos. Like, there's always those things that I can kind of like lean more one way or the other. But in terms of like not doing a bunch of like day of eating and like day in the life of vlogs and just keeping my content focused on the content on health, fitness, social well-being, I don't regret it, because I feel like the growth is better, even if it's gradual. I feel like I'm actually generally helping people, and I much rather know that, like, you know, I'm helping my 16,000 subs, really helping them, versus having like 100,000 subs, but I'm putting out a bunch of typical BS that everybody else is that isn't really going to benefit them in the long run. Like, when you guys send me messages and emails talking about how much my content has helped you and impacted you and genuinely made your lives better, there's no amount of subs that can you know, compensate for that, or no amount of money I can make that will ever outvalue that. And I'm doing pretty good for myself, man, as far as like, you know, like coaching, YouTube, all that. So I'm definitely not complaining about where I'm at currently. But yeah, that's pretty much my answer to that question. That's it for this Q&A. That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, go in the comment down below. Let me know what you did. If you're not, leave a comment down below. Let me know what I can do better. Like the video, share, subscribe. Keep it simple, specific, scientific. Catch you guys later.